All right. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Kantech webinar series. Today's topic is ioSmart. All right. One of the good things about the Kantech ioSmart is we're going to see today on how to connect the reader and how to use it together as one. All right. We're not going to go through all the benefits and programming because of a lot of them, and we have the ioSmart for a few years. We want to recap a bit the benefits of the ioSmart. All right. So before we start, let's talk about Prox cards and smart cards. What's a Prox card and what is a smart card? Because a lot of people don't know the difference. A Prox card is the ioProx cards that we all know, the HID Prox, the Indala, all those cards are considered Prox. They have little security on the card, which basically your card number, the number we use, the 26-bit, the corporate 1000, the KSF, the XSF, are written on the card in clear text. So anybody with a scanner can go and scan them. A smart card is a card that is encrypted. This card is an intelligent card. That's what we call smart. All right. And it is still physically a proximity card. Physically, you still have a distance between the card reader and the card. But the smart card is now encrypted. It has a bucket. It has a memory chip in it. All right. Of various sizes. And this bucket of memory is divided into different sectors. So every little sector is like a little bucket in the big pool of stuff, right? And in every sector, we can put information inside. For example, in one of these sectors, we can write the card number that we want. So imagine I have a lot of little buckets in my memory pool, right? And I could dump any information I want in each one. I can put the card numbers. I can put your name. I can read and write like money in there and so on. And all of these sectors, these buckets, are encrypted with an encryption key. Okay? And the only way to decrypt this key is using a reader that has the decryption key itself. Now, the benefit of this is that if you don't have the decryption key, you cannot get to the information inside that pool of sectors. So that's encrypted, and without that, you can't get anywhere. Rob, do you think of any ideas of a Prox card ideal to a smart card that we use every day in our day-to-day lives?
Your ATM card.
Your ATM and your credit card, very good. The old Max Stripe equivalent can be seen as the Prox card. Little security, very basic, right? And your smart card, now you have the tap, obviously, yes, but the tap also has a pin depending on what you buy. It gives you that encryption. Because when you tap it or you put the pin over, and same thing, it basically decrypts the card, the memory, grabs the card number that you need, which is your credit card, and then sends it off to the processing center. So now if somebody has a reader on a fake reader they made up, they can't go and grab that card. All right. So with the ioSmart, these are the readers now that are used on those cards, and depending on the cards you have, you can read multiple different types of formats, right? So for example, the ioSmart readers are considered Wiegand output. An ioSmart is a Wiegand output is like every other reader in the world. You basically hook up your green and your white, and then you can start using your green and white. Now, with the ioSmart, also in the field, you can detect them as RS45. So we don't use Wiegand anymore, right? We can hook them up over RS45 to the KT-400 and KT-1 controllers. Now, the ioSmart readers are encrypted 128-bit AES. So now not only is the card to the reader encrypted, right? The whole sector thing and credit card processing. But imagine you had that. You have a Very nice terminal, fully encrypted. You tap your credit card, you feel safe. It decrypts your card and nobody can copy that card. And then it sends everything in clear text to the processing center. That's what Weekend is. It's a clear text output, whoop, to the system. Now with RS-45, it's encrypting that RS-45 also down to the controller. Now to go over the cool stuff, it goes over 500 feet, and we have the easy connectors like the Prox readers back then. We have the 6 terminal blocks to easily install a controller. With the smart cards, or our new smart cards that we have, they're called the ioSmart, and we'll see those cards in a few minutes. These ioSmart cards are unique. Like the ioProx, we don't special order the cards. The cards you buy distribution are the cards you're gonna get, right? Do you care what card number you have? No. Why? Why is that? Because we accept all facility codes, right? So in EnterPass, as you guys are all aware, we enter the entire facility code in the card, regardless of the card. So the card you see on the system is the card you have. Now, Rob, all cards start with their own facility code. Yes, now. Do you know what the new facility code is?
For ioSmart, it's 80.
Correct. So we went the full route of the ioSmart card. So it's 80, which is the SSF number, and then we have the AB colon 12345. So for example, 8001 or 80 AB 12345 as the card number, and you enter it in EnterPass the whole number. Benefit for you guys: when you go to your favorite distributor, you just pick up ioSmart cards, and you know they're gonna work on an ioSmart reader. No special orders, nothing complicated, no forms, no waiting 3 weeks for cards. You just buy the cards and off you go. Now, this is my favorite chart. Not really, it's a picture here. I'll tell you the distance. We can go up to 500 feet per line on the RS-45. So if you're gonna buy a KT-400 and you're gonna buy ioSmart readers, or you're gonna buy a KT-1 and ioSmart readers, there is no need to go weekend anymore. All right, we have a lot of integrators that still install this weekend because they're used to it. Why do you buy a Ferrari and then put 13-inch tires on it? I don't know, Rob. Maybe you have an idea why, but I don't. So when you're gonna buy a Kantech system and you buy ioSmart readers, wire it over RS-45. The KT-1 and the KT-400, they both have a secondary RS-45 terminal. The secondary RS-45 terminal serves for the ioSmart and the IO module connections. All right. So basically, in here you have your ioSmart that connects to the KT-400 over our RS-45, and you can pull 4 lines. You have a KT-400, 4 lines, 4 doors, right? KT-1, you can pull 1 line, 2 readers for 1 door. So you can go up to 500 feet per line. So it's 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet total. All right. In here, I can go 500 feet down, and on the 500-foot mark or before, doesn't really matter, I can put a secondary reader to do my in and out. On my KT-400, I can do 8 readers, 4 doors on my ioSmart. The cable that we have tested for UL purposes is a 22 gauge 3-twisted pair unshielded, or Cat5 cable. So if you're gonna go install ioSmart readers, you don't need the very expensive 18.6 cables. You can simply use the Cat5e with standard Ethernet cable, and you need 22 gauge 3-twisted pair. Now, be careful, guys. Here, we say 3 twisted pairs because we assume the tests were done in Weekend and RS-45. If you're going RS-45, you don't need that many pairs. 4 cables is more than enough. Why? Because in RS-45, you don't need all the terminals, right? Oh, can you still hear me, Rob? I think we lost some sound.
I can still hear you, but someone said they lost audio.
All right, I saw that. Anybody else? Yes. All right. If you can hear me, everybody can hear me. So there are 6 readers that are available that we can use for the ioSmart. Very only 6. There's no special order for them. You just buy the readers that you need. We have the multi-tech readers on one side, and the multi-tech readers will read multiple technologies and have keypads. That's really the difference. And on the other side, we have smart card only readers that will read only ioSmart and other smart cards. So the multi-tech will read a ioProx and other readers formats, whereas smart cards don't. All readers come with Bluetooth. All readers have BLE on it, which is Bluetooth. All readers have Wiegand or RS-45. It's the same one. We don't pick and choose based on our choices. It's not a buffet here. You just get the reader you want, and it has everything included. What does that save you on, Rob?
Saves you on some time and some money.
Yep, time, money, and also ordering and inventory. You don't have to keep 15 different permutations of the same reader, right? You notice carefully we have the single gang, the mullion one, which is on a door frame or electrical box, and then we have the keypad version of the readers. Now, as you guys can see here, we can read multiple different formats of the readers. We can read the MyFair ioSmart cards. Our smart cards are of MyFair Plus EV1, which is the latest card out there at this moment. And then we could also read other MyFair cards and other smart cards also. One of the benefits here, for example, we can read something called an Opus card, which is a brand. Those are bus cards or bus shuttle cards for bus drivers, bus passes, and everything. In Montreal, there's huge projects to read those cards. Now, if you notice carefully, all the other cards are encrypted. They're smart cards. And what did we say at the very beginning? If you have a smart card that's encrypted, you can only read what's inside that sector, right? With the decryption key. If I don't have the decryption key, what can I read? And how am I reading all these other cards? I'm reading something called the CSN or UID. It's the card serial number of the card. Imagine having a hard drive, that's your sector, right? And you have all the important information for the upcoming Android phone, right? Encrypted in that hard drive. And now you give it to somebody. You tell them, read it. They can't. They don't have the decryption key. But what they could read is the serial number of the hard drive. Would that tell them anything about the content of the hard drive? No. It just tells them that this is a serial number XYZ from this maker of this hard drive, right? Useless information, but it's unique. And we can read that information to also use those cards. Sorry, my bad. I went too far. The smart card version can read all those smart cards, but cannot read any ioProx or HID. So if you're doing a brand new system that does not have any access control, you can use the smart card readers. Very inexpensive and read smart cards. Why bother paying for proximity antennas and technology when you don't need that? Whereas if you're doing a takeover or you're doing a high riser that has multiple tenants, you want to put the multi-tech readers in there, which give you the ability to read other people's cards, like the ioProx and HID Prox. Now I'm gonna go through this live with you guys, but there's huge benefits of going over the RS-45. Bluetooth control, buzzer and LED control. We'll cover that in a few minutes. Um, and firmware upgrades. Again, you have full above and beyond the encryption and all that cool stuff. The fact that it's encrypted and has all these benefits, makes your life a lot easier. And we're going to go see these things live in a few minutes. Now, in the back of a reader, how do I wire this? Because you've been telling me four cables, four cables, four cables. Yes, it's four cables. And it's very easy. The minimum requirements for wiring a reader is four cables. The maximum requirement for wiring a reader, guess what? Is four cables. So basically, we attach our power, our ground, and our power. And then we attach our green and yellow in this case. Why? Because we're using quad cable, right? In here, we don't need to put three twisted pairs because the twisted pair is used for Wiegand also. But we're not going Wiegand, but the test can only be done once. So we have our quad cable here, and I can do D0x minus and D0x plus. So now the Wiegand terminals will auto detect if they are RS-485 and start communicating back to the controller over RS-485. That's all I need, right? There's no LED or buzzer required. The LED and buzzer itself will only be used if actually not used, is controlled, I mean, by the ioSmart reader itself over RS-485. So the flashing and the beeping isn't dedicated terminals anymore. It's encrypted communication over the RS-485. This is why we need only four cables, right? Is because the LED and buzzer are controlled over the RS-485. Now that leaves me with two extra terminals on a reader. And Kantech, we're not going to leave terminals unused. So what do we do with them? Very simple. I'm not going to go through all the details, but you can actually configure your LED and buzzer as extra inputs and or extra output or a relay. So for example, I can hook up to four inputs if I use double end of line resistors in series like we have them here, right? Or I can use regular resistors for true double end of line on an input. And I can also configure an output. So I can have inputs, I can have outputs all managed behind the reader port. Now, be careful if you're going with an external strike, for example, you need to provide external power supply for the power and the lock to be powered. But the lock itself will be controlled from the ioSmart reader. All right. We have three cards. We actually have more than three cards. It looks like we have three cards. We have our clamshell cards, the MFP 2K SHL. Those are ioSmart. The memory bucket I was telling you about is 2K, which is a good in most cases. 99% of your cases, 2K is more than enough. And SHL for clamshell cards. Then we have our printable cards, the ones that go in the printer. We have two of them. This was a little typo. We have our printable cards that are regular. Now in the market, we start seeing a lot more higher end printers from Fargo specifically. All the HPD printers, the definition printing, all right. Those require they recommend different kinds of cards. Those cards they recommend is the COM cards. So it's a MyFair 2K die card that you can print, but it also has a bit of composite inside. So they're a bit more expensive cards, very, very a few peanuts more, but it has built-in composite in there. So this way, when you print a card on those HPD printers, it doesn't warp or tore the card. Because the regular die cards, the Prox, the HID, the Indala, the ioSmart, like all of them, this is not a Kantech thing, they will warp a bit on those HPD printers. If you buy a regular DTC printer, you can use any card you want. And we also have key tags if you want to use key tags to on your keychain for encryption. All right. So let's go to our software here and let's go see what we can do. First off, I put all my colors the same. I'm just gonna go change it back to a non-matrix environment. Now, if you notice carefully, I plugged in my controller and I'm communicating with my KT-400 over IP. So let's go see what happens. So I have my KT-400. Everything looks fine. Nothing special here. Now what I can do is I can hit this button here. So right here, request unassigned module. Or I can right click and then hit request unassigned modules over the operations and controllers. From here, when I do request unassigned modules, I say yes, this will go and scan the RS-485 line for all unassigned ioSmart readers. And this gives me my ioSmart serial number. So in the back of the reader, the ioSmart readers have a serial number. It's written in very nice letters, right? Now, in here, you have to enroll them because you're going RS-485 and they're all sharing the same uh, cable. We have to know which door goes with what. Now, you could write it down, take a picture, and enter it manually, but a lot of you guys have a form of encryption that's very hard to read. So we can right click and go to edit on the event and then go to assign. And this will automatically assign my ioSmart reader to its respective controller. All I have to do is pick my appropriate door. Tell it if I have a keypad. And under the terminal menu, I can choose if I have a single input or double inputs. These are your LEDs and your outputs. Remember, we're talking about that before. Or I want to use it as a lock output. So in theory, I can just pull one quad cable and 18.6, 18.2 for my power, and I'll be done. Door contact and Rex can be configured from here. And I press save. Now the reader has been enrolled and will start communicating with my controller. Was that hard? Like right click edit, I'll do it again in case I went way too fast. Right click, oops, edit, assign. Under operations, controller, I can take my controller, right click on it, and go to module status. And this will tell me exactly what's happening with my reader. Notice that my other reader is not working. That's because my other reader is not, obviously it's a fake serial number I plugged in, blah blah blah, right? And this one has been connected. And if I ever want to, I can right click and do firmware upgrades, right? Somewhere here. So I can upgrade my firmware of my reader. So tomorrow we come out with a new firmware that improves something, we can definitely do so. My favorite thing is under devices, reader templates. How many of you guys have taken a reader and the customer tells you, you know what, make it stop beeping. I want my door first open or I don't, but I don't want it to beep on a card swipe. How do you solve that problem? Well, it's called electrical tape or a drill. And then you go drill out the speaker, right? And what does that do, Rob, to the reader?
It voids the warranty.
It voids the warranty, plus you have a hole in your back of the reader.
Oh, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. So, with ioSmart over RS-485, we have something called reader templates. Under devices and reader templates, you can build your own template, and that's per controller. You can build one template for many controllers, and then you could dump it in each controller if you want. One of the things I can do is the buzzer on the LED. All right, so I could say on card swipe, I don't want it to beep anymore, so no more beeping. So if I save it, now you won't hear the beep on the reader anymore. All right. For example, I don't on key press on the keypad, don't make it beep. So if I'm putting a reader in a library, I don't need any of this anymore. I don't have to make them work. If I have a keypad, for example, I can make the keypad illuminated or dim. It sounds very cosmetic, but imagine you put this reader outside and you're in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. People can see that keypad from a distance, and people will try to enter random codes on the keypad. Yes, we have a lockout feature, but over time they'll get to find the code, depending on how many codes you have. It's like a long time. Now we could say that the keypad LED is not lit, and you tap it for it to wake up. So from a robber at 20, 30 feet, even at 5 feet, he can't see that it's a keypad. He has to literally tap the reader for it to wake up, and then he can put his code in there. All right? And I could change the LED and the color behavior of any of the items here. On idle, I want to have it blue because my building is blue, right? And this can be associated to my controller if I ever needed to, and this controller will follow these results. All right. So the ioSmart reader going over RA45 gives you the encryption and the flexibility of using ioSmart. All right, and all the tools that I just showed you, and there's a lot more you can do with these ioSmart readers. So before we go, I know we're just flush on time. I'll open up to questions. So I'll give you guys 3 seconds to write your questions, and I hope to see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys soon.